The time for action has arrived.
By now, everyone knows about what's going on with Jon Gruden, the former head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders of the NFL. Obviously, this is big news because, for one, my dad's a big Raiders fan, and two, it involves a coach that has been in coaching in football for all his life. When I read these emails, and they're pretty damn sick. He used racist, sexist, homophobic, and transphobic language in his emails. Now, the timeline is from 2010 to 2018, long before Gruden was hired from the Raiders for his second chance with them, not too long after he won the Super Bowl with Tampa Bay. Now, one of them was talking about Roger Goodell, calling him I can't even say it, the F word when it comes to homosexuals, calling him also a clueless anti-football pussy. Now that stems from the fact of him being angry about how the concussion situation back then was being handled. Now I can understand that because Goodell, but not for the reasons why Gruden said. Goodell tried to cover it all up, and it blew up in his face. Players were dying. A doctor found out why they were dying, and Goodell tried to cover it up. But in Gruden's words, he said he was angry because his livelihood in football, the game that he loved, was being threatened. Then why would you, as an ambassador to that sport, make the situation 10 times worse than it already is? Now, it just keeps worse on all this, because quite honestly, he goes off in 2017 about he posts a sexist meme of women officiating NFL football games. I mean, I don't give a damn what sex a referee is going to be. I hate them all personally because there's a lot of calls don't go my team's way. But when you go beyond the shirt, beyond the stripes, beyond the stupid little hat and the whistle, then it becomes a problem. Now, it just keeps getting worse. He even chops into Joe Biden in 2012 during President Obama's re-election campaign, calling Joe Biden back then, as vice president, a nervous, clueless pussy, his words. And the thing is, and then it goes even to the race tropes, saying that Eric Reed, one of the football players who kneeled during the national anthem as a protesting against police brutality, saying that he should be fired. He even in another email said that the Congress should be condemned for forcing the Washington Redskins to change its name. Right now they're called the Washington Football Team, but sooner or later they'll get their name, whatever. And it just keeps getting worse. Just reading all of these emails, him talking about Michael Sam, the first the first openly gay athlete in the NFL, saying that he was being pressured he's saying that the St. Louis Rams coach, Jeff Fisher, was pressured by Goodell to draft Michael Sam, calling him a cute, I can't even say it. I can't. It's just so wrong. And in the twist of fate, in 2021, before the football season started, Carl Nassib one of Gruden's players on the Las Vegas Raiders. He coached him. He was an openly active gay football player. It's just two things bother me about all of these emails. How did this attitude, regardless of how long he was been in coaching, how long these emails started in 2011? How was this man still given a job in the NFL, let alone a head coaching position in the NFL? Fact is, this guy, it should have ended. It just should have ended a long time ago. But there's something else that bothers me to the point of all this, what I really wanted to talk about. Every time a situation like this happens, when someone says something they shouldn't have said, when someone says something completely offensive, what bothers me is that the politics of it, those who lean the right, and we all know who they are, the Trump supporters. What bothers me about them is that they always pull out the First Amendment like it's some kind of get out of jail free card. It isn't. The First Amendment does give us freedom of speech. However, it does not protect us from the consequences of that speech. If I were to say on one of my videos here on YouTube or on Facebook that I wanted to kill someone, open Facebook or open YouTube, if I wanted to name names, if I wanted to name a senator or a congresswoman or even the president that I wanted to kill, not only will I be shut out of YouTube or Facebook, I will be investigated, prosecuted, and possibly put in prison. Free speech trumps all, but be ready for the consequences of that speech. What bothers me about this is that they don't have a problem with it. And in the couple of days that after this story broke and all the emails were made public, I've been hearing nothing but excuse after excuse after excuse to saying maybe he's right to say what he said, or maybe he's wrong to say what he said, but I still support it. Why would you support something this horrendous? Why would you support? Let me ask you this though: would you support someone if they called someone on the N-word? If Gruden openly used, if Gruden openly used the N-word in public or on these emails, either way? Would you support Gruden if he called any members of the LGBTQ derogatory, homophobic, and transphobic names in public? Would that change your mind about all of this? Or we still try to use the First Amendment as a get out of jail free card? In the end of the day, Gruden created this own problem. Now he has to deal with it. He resigned from the Raiders as head coach. I just received, at the time of this video's publishing, at the time this video was downloaded on YouTube, I found out that his name was taking off the Ring of Honor in Tampa Bay. He was head coach when they won the Super Bowl, their first Super Bowl. His legacy has been completely destroyed by his own hand, by his own mouth, let me put it that way. And the people enabling this, whether it be ESPN or the NFL, his supporters or anything else, or the people trying to use the First Amendment as a get out of jail free card, all of them have some measure of responsibility for this. The fact is, every time a situation like this happens, it just pushes us backwards, this country backwards. I like to believe that we've risen above petty insults of calling people this, that, and the other. But it seems we haven't. And the people who could make changes for this remain silent. Now, Roger Goodell, he didn't have to fire Gruden. He quit. But it should have been in the offering. I got nothing but, I don't have any respect for Goodell. For the reasons I mentioned earlier. He tried to cover up the concussion situation. His football players were committing suicide, and he was trying to do everything he can to cover it up. Domestic violence, he tried covering that up as well. The man did everything he can to destroy the NFL, and he still has a job. Now that's my problem with him. But what really bothers me about people like Goodell, people like that congresswoman who called homosexuals filth, and people coming to his defense. This is the intolerance and stupidity and ignorance we have to fight on a daily basis against in this country. Because if we don't fight back, if we let this continue, more people are going to get hurt, more people are going to be destroyed by it. Right now, Gruden's entire legacy has been destroyed by his hand. He has no one to blame for it but himself. In the end of the day, he has to take responsibility for it. He should be banished from football. Don't even give the guy a radio hosting job in ESPN or any other sports network. Because quite honestly, that just legitimizes what he said. And it's time for right now, sports right now needs to take a very long look at itself. A very long look. Because this situation can't be allowed to continue. Intolerance needs to stop, or this country will be completely divided, even worse than it is now. Politics has already divided this country. If you're not red, you're blue. If you're not blue, you're red. If you're not one of us, you're one of them. And we already know what them in their eyes means. But when it comes to people like Gruden, his entire legacy is destroyed. Everything about him has been annihilated. So maybe that's a Band-Aid on a much larger problem. The problem needs to be solved, and we need to solve it now. CTP Know The Truth. God bless. Peace to the left, justice to the right.